It was a quiet evening when Lena stumbled upon the lake, hidden deep within the forest she had wandered into. The air felt different there, still heavy, as though the world had paused to let her catch her breath. She had been running, not physically but emotionally, from decisions she regretted and dreams she had abandoned. Her life felt like a mess of threads knotted too tightly to ever unravel. The lake shimmered like glass, perfectly reflecting the starry sky above. Drawn by its beauty, she sat at its edge, staring at her reflection. But as she looked closer, she noticed something strange. The reflection wasn't. The sun had dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky streaked with hues of lavender and gold. Lena's boots crunched softly against the forest floor, the pine needles muffling her steps. The air was cool, carrying the scent of moss and damp earth, wrapping her in a quiet stillness she hadn't felt in years. It was as though the forest itself was holding its breath. She hadn't meant to wander this far. What started as an aimless walk to clear her thoughts had turned into a journey deep into unfamiliar woods. Her phone had lost signal hours ago, but she didn't care. The chaos of her life felt a world away, and for the first time in weeks, she welcomed the solitude. Then she saw it. The trees opened to reveal a hidden lake, cradled in a hollow of the forest like a secret too beautiful to share. The water was impossibly still, so smooth it looked like polished obsidian. It reflected the night sky perfectly, the stars shimmering in its depths as though the universe had poured itself into this single spot. Drawn by a pull she couldn't explain, Lena stepped closer, the cool, damp grass brushing against her ankles. She knelt at the edge of the lake, the chill of the earth seeping through her jeans. As she leaned over the water, her own face stared back at her, framed by the stars. But something was off. Her reflection didn't mimic her movements. Her breath caught as the reflection blinked independent of her. It smiled, not a cruel or eerie smile, but one filled with a knowing warmth. Lena leaned back, her heart racing, but something in her urged her to stay. The reflection tilted its head, and the stars around it began to ripple, the water bending and distorting as though time itself was unraveling. Images surfaced. They came in flashes like scenes from a film projected onto the water. There she was as a child, laughing uncontrollably as her father pushed her on a swing. The moment faded, replaced by her teenage self, tears streaming down her face as she argued with her mother. Then her college years, full of late nights and big dreams that now felt so far away. Each image was vivid, alive, as though she could reach out and touch it. But the strangest part was the feeling. Each memory carried an emotion so raw it almost overwhelmed her. The joy, the heartbreak, the fear, and the love. She realized these weren't just moments from her past. They were ripples, echoes of decisions she'd made, paths she'd taken, and the infinite paths she hadn't. Her reflection spoke, though its lips didn't move. Her breath hitched. What does that mean? Can I change it? The reflection smiled again. The water rippled again, and this time Lena saw herself as she could be. Stronger, kinder, a version of herself that didn't carry the weight of her mistakes like chains, but wore them like armor. It wasn't a different Lena, it was still her, just whole. Tears filled her eyes as she reached out to touch the water. The surface was cold against her fingertips, sending a shiver through her body. The reflection shimmered, merging with her own face. When she pulled her hand back, the lake was still again, the stars unbroken in their quiet brilliance. But something within Lena had shifted. She stood, the forest around her feeling lighter, brighter somehow. As she walked away from the lake, she didn't feel the need to look back. The echoes of her past weren't behind her anymore. They were part of her, and they always would be. But now, they no longer felt like a weight. They felt like a promise that the future was hers to shape.